Greetings, hello, hello, welcome on in, Unoptimized Fool, and we are here for another weekly video. Now, you're probably wondering why I look so red. That's not because I have a tan, okay? I can't tan, okay? It's very warm, and this suit is 9,000% cotton, and I am burning up already, right? So, this is the beginning of the video. I'd like to thank you for being here. Again, we have the Spotters Guild, right? We have some interesting stuff coming up. We do raids every week. We want to do some more events, so definitely let me know if you have any ideas. We have a new microphone today too, so let me know how you feel about that as well. Trying to up the ante here, up the production value of this program. And also, guys, I do this every week. Now we have about 5 articles to cover, not too crazy. Again, once we find out what 11.2 is, it is going to go crazy with information, that's for sure. So without further ado, let's get right into the news. The first thing that I want to talk about today doesn't really have to pertain to really our retail, right? Now, obviously, if you're on the Chinese servers, this does pertain to you, but it's kind of more of like a complaint by me, right? I'm complaining here, okay? So bear with me. So just recently, they had this DPS competition on the Chinese servers, sponsored by NetEase, right, where they would compete and see which the best classes are, right? And you'll see results here eventually on the screen, kind of talking about everything and how everything went. Now, it's not about the event I want to talk about. Now, also Morgan Day did talk about classes and how they want balances, which I honestly think in modern World of Warcraft we have some good balance. Honestly, you'll always, no matter how balanced the game is, even if your class is fifth in DPS, you always want more, right? It's the age old question of more or less, right? Now, the reason why I bring this up is because there's been a lot of promotions on the Chinese servers, right? There you see, different events, you see leveling events, right? And I wonder, again, I know it's mostly has to do with NetEase, right, which is a Chinese company, but where is all the events for us, NA or EU, right? Where are all the events for us, right? I'm complaining here because it would be cool if we could have a DPS competition. I know we just had the Dastry Duos competition. Again, we have competitions, but honestly, not to the extent of the Chinese servers, right? So again, where's the equality for us over here in NA and EU? All right, I'm even bringing you EU people into here, but yeah, I just kind of want to raise that up, and obviously it has to do with NetEase and all of that type of thing. So maybe it's just Blizzard not wanting to dive into it. I mean, again, I know we have like the arena matches, you have the Mythic Plus pushes, right? That just was recently there. We have the worlds the race to worlds first, which is not technically sponsored by Blizzard. Which Blizzard you should definitely sponsor. That's definitely a fun thing that you could definitely get involved in. So again, it just seems like Blizzard should be diving into more events. It seems like they are doing that on Chinese servers, but for some reason, us NA and EU servers get left in the dust. But yeah, I just wanted to complain about that pretty quick because every time I see it, I'm like, where's our stuff? All right, guys, for the second article today, I want to talk about something that's coming out today, right? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, hold on. There's something coming out today? Absolutely, guys. 11.1.7 is coming today. Now, obviously, this video is going to launch before the servers go live. Usually on big patch days like this, the servers have extended maintenance and maybe even more maintenance at the end. So don't call out today, by the way, if you have already. Do not call out. Usually you call out the day after a patch, guys. Think about it, okay? That's what, real WoW players do. Anyway, now we have a lot of systems going live. Won't be talking about that today, but I want to talk about the Titan belt. Now, this is a system, again, it's a belt that you can get with the new overcharged delves. Now, again, you can upgrade the Titan console inside of the overcharged delves. And again, we've already talked about those delves, but there's been a buff to this belt. Again, this is borrowed power, just like the ring that we got on Siren Isle, right? Now, obviously, they were seeing data that potentially might have been pretty alarming that, usually with borrowed power systems, it's usually the best in slot for most classes. That ring was best in slot for, I think, every class in spec. So with this belt, we assumed that it was going to be best in slot. But a lot of testing on the PTR and probably some internal data, they got a little bit scared because obviously I don't think it was best in slot for most classes. Now we don't really know for sure, but they've just recently buffed a lot of the powers because again, you can associate some powers. Again, just like the gems inside the ring, you can customize what powers your belt has. And obviously, there'll be best in slot guides probably coming out today. You can just min max it if you want to, right? Now, they just recently upgraded the max item level because again, each week you're going to be upgrading your item level just like we did with the ring. So at first that belt might not be the best in slot, depending on your what you have on your belt now. But at the end, it's going to be best in slot for sure. But The max level before was 694, right? Now, obviously, that's pretty good, but now it's 701 with more buffs to every upgrade in the belt. And you can get this belt by just running the overcharged delves. You can run down level 1 if you want to. Of course, you can go big mode if you want to. But yeah, new additions to this belt, which is pretty much making it and forcing it to be a best in slot. And again, adding to this best, overall borrowed power systems are back in WoW. I mean, in my opinion, I'd love to see more buffs to items, but now we have two borrowed power systems. I mean, eventually that ring for Siren Isle is going to go away, probably hopefully in season 3. I mean, I'm kind of sick of it just sitting there, kind of stagnating, and I think the same thing's going to happen with this belt. So I don't know why we're going back to this borrowed power system. It's kind of lame in my opinion, but hey, I just have to go with the flow for sure. All right, tanks, you guys are going to love this one. Now, before this update, again, this is going to be going live the second that I talk about this, obviously today. But before, you've probably noticed if you're tanks, or maybe if you're the healer. I mean, honestly, anyone can notice this, but mostly tanks or healers really notice this where you're in a Mythic Plus, or especially when you're in a raid, right? When there's two tanks, you have to do some tank swapping. Sometimes the tank swap just does not work. The other tank swaps, and the boss is like, well, how about I just stay with this tank real quick? And all of a sudden, especially with, Gallowix, you can't take that frontal twice in a row on heroic mode, you're dead, right? So that felt like a bug, right? That felt like a glitch, and that gets annoying, right? Now, obviously, imagine if you're pumping, you're like, yeah, we're doing great, and all of a sudden a tank swap just doesn't work. The threat is just off. But guess what, guys? They just increased tank threat. Okay, tank threat has been increased, so hopefully, again, not proven, but hopefully, we are going to see less and less random, you know, actual pulling, or when we do hit that taunt button, it's going to automatically generate more threat with that taunt, and then it immediately goes to you. So hopefully this eliminates some of those problems. So again, you're going to be progressing in these raids, or maybe high mythics, and running into a weird threat issue. Maybe it's not even a bug, just a weird threat issue where the percentages aren't adding up. It can really sour the mood, right? And again, the less problems that happen in the game, maybe they're minor, right? Maybe a random tank swap is broken, but that could really mess up progression. It can really destroy the morale of the team. So I'm glad to see Blizzard finally addressing this. Now, it's been a bit, obviously. War Within's been out for a while. And guys, don't you guys know something? At the beginning of this expansion, right before it hit, they lowered some of the threat that tanks generate. They also decreased how much a healer can heal. So it's weird. It's saying like maybe that just didn't work. Maybe Blizzard made a oopsie doopsie, and obviously they did. Right now they're buffing them back up. So tanks definitely rejoice, and hopefully you don't get those random taunting and can't taunt off of another tank issue you see in raids. So fingers crossed. All right, guys. Now, previously stated 11.1.7 launches today. Now, we have a lot of systems coming out, but I want to talk about one that is kind of minor in its sense, but it's going to be leading to a major systematic shift in World of Warcraft's history. Now, we have the Rotation Manager coming out today, as well as the one button play all of class and spec. Now, if you don't know what it is, the Rotation Manager is going to help you play your class. It's going to highlight a button and a spell that you press, and it's going to say, hey, press this one for the next damage, and you're going to see your damage increase. Now, it's not going to make you a mythic raider and a world's first raider automatically. It's just going to make you kind of think more about your class. It's going to be helpful for single target and AoE. It's not going to help with cooldowns or interrupts, by the way, though. So it's obviously in its first iteration. Again, this is supposed to be replacing eventually Heal Killy, right? It's going to be an add-on that helps you with the rotation. Now, this leads into a system where Blizzard is slowly looking at add-ons and seeing that some add-ons kind of just play the game for us. And I agree with that. I've been super against weak ores, especially in all those systems. Now, what they're going to be doing eventually is they're going to be building all of this stuff inside the core game. Then eventually, they say starting inside of pre-patch of midnight, they're going to be taking some accessibility for these add-ons to gather away. So that means that these add-ons won't have the necessary information to even work. Because Blizzard has said that sometimes they think of a really cool mechanic for a raid boss or even just a dungeon boss, and someone in the room says, oh, someone's going to make a weak ore of that in 2 seconds and make the fight just super easy. And I think that stinks. I think that should never happen. And this is how we got this weird cold war of let's make the bosses harder, since the add-ons are going to do more, then the add-ons then make it easier, and then the bosses then get harder. compare modern WoW to classic WoW with the boss mechanics. Obviously, things do evolve over time, but it's been very much a wild ride, and we've had to deal with add-ons for a long time. I mean, there's add-ons, for example, weak auras that force people to not res automatically. Some people have the impulse to just res immediately after a wipe and not wait for a res from a healer, okay? And they need a weak aura for them to actually play the game. So I think those types of weak auras should definitely go. And eventually all weak auras might be going here soon. Now, obviously, this has sparked a lot of controversy in the community, but honestly, I think this is good for us. We have an addiction, and I think we need to get off of it. We're gonna have withdrawals, but it's gonna be okay. They're not just gonna throw add-ons out and have no in-game compatibility with any systems. They're going to build those systems, get confident with them, and then remove the add-on after that. So it's starting in pre-patch of midnight, but it's probably not going to end until probably 3 or 4 expansions. It's not just going to be overnight thing. So I just wanted to bring that up one more time because I think this is a big discussion that we're going to be talking about more and more as we go through. All right, guys, the last article I want to talk about, it has to be with my weekly yap about the renown system inside of the raid. Now, obviously, you knew it was coming, right? The raid is still going on. Now, this week is a big week, okay? We have an additional 3% damage increase and healing done, and now the total is up to 15%. Now, as you guys know, it's the same as for tier 1 to tier 2 now here. We are going to have up to 18%. So we have one more week where there's 3%, but now we're up to 15%. So again, if we're stuck on a boss, we're stuck on encounter, we can hopefully push past that now. So now 15%. That's why it's super important to be doing this renown. Again, it goes up 1 per week. There is a catch-up mechanic. You get it through killing the bosses and the lieutenants. Now, I do want to say one thing though. There was a bug, and I think there's still a bug. I haven't seen any confirmation that this is over with, that some of the reputation wasn't counting, and that some people don't have this buff yet. So it might hopefully be fixed today. Again, they have bigger fish to fry with 11.1.7 being launched today, but I'm hoping they fix it because again, we still have next week, right? Obviously, this was happened last week and we have a new one this week, but hopefully they fixed it. Now, obviously, there some reputation wasn't being given off of bosses, and a lot of people were saying, some people do have it. Now, they did say they fixed it, but then reverted that and said we didn't fix it, actually it's actually still happening. And I think they made it even a little bit worse, but they tried to fix it at least. So there was a lot of weird reporting, and I can finally say that according to my sources, as of the day of the recording, which is the Monday before this video gets released, the bug is still there. And if you haven't gotten this buff yet, it's not your fault. You didn't miss anything. You're not behind. It's just Blizzard, being a small indie company and having an issue. Now, obviously, guys, games will break over time. And I'm just kind of joking about the indie game studio thing. I think it's just a funny joke. I'm a game developer myself. I understand gaming. Some bugs pop out of nowhere with no explanation. So I hope I give a lot of faith and credit to the team there. Hopefully they can figure this one out. But again, if you have the buff, that's awesome. If you don't, just hold and hopefully you'll get it come when the servers come live today. All right, guys, that's it for all the news for today. Again, we had about 5 articles to talk about. Not a too crazy week. Again, once we have 11.2 being launched and discussed about, we're going to be really diving into all that stuff. Now, obviously, we don't have any details about what 11.2 is going to be about. Now, we are getting closer and closer to hopefully a reveal. I mean, eventually it just will pop out one day. We have a lot of silence on that front, but obviously 11.1.7 comes live today, so we need to enjoy those systems. Let's not think about the future. Let's think about the present, right? Now, again, I am Unoptimized Fool. Now, if you love World of Warcraft, which obviously you are, since you made it through this whole video, which I appreciate, you can check me up on X or YouTube under Unoptimized Fool, and I do videos mostly daily. I take about 2 days off, or if there's not enough news to cover, and I cover some news in my closet. I go into deeper dives than I do in this weekly video, so I definitely cover topics that are discussed here. But again, if you enjoy WoW, definitely give me a follow on any of those sites. Again, thank you to the Spot'em gang for letting me release this video and let me yap about World of Warcraft, and I appreciate it. So again, I am Unoptimized Fool. Thanks for watching the weekly video. I'll see you guys next week.